The crystal basilisk are small magical reptiles that look extremely similar to lizards.
No.
Except unlike regular lizards from Earth, these little creatures, which happen to be one of Lion's all-time favorite snacks, are clearly connected to the gems and more specifically the legacy of rose quartz in some unexplained way, and I'm also almost 100% sure that they're organic beings as well.
See? Who knows where you got that?
The crystal shrimp that we'd be introduced to during the season 1 episode titled Cheeseburger Backpack are in a fairly similar position.
What was that, Goobers?
Crystal shrimp.
Being that they were clearly supposed to have been viewed as a bunch of gem-related creatures that also appear to have been mostly organic.
It's an infestation, and we have to pass through there to get to the top.
But wait! There's more!
Can't you just squish them?
Don't touch that! Their shards are deadly!
We also learned from our girl Pearl that the crystal shrimp was somehow harmful to the gems.
Then I can advance with my
Bagel sandwich!
An incredibly odd detail about them that to this day has never explicitly been explained on the show, which is beyond weird, right?
Brilliant.
Oh, hey, what do you know? How did you know that would work?
Well, if I were a shrimp, that's what I would do.
I mean, how in the world could creatures like the crystal shrimp be harmful to the gems in the first place?
And Garnet, if you move to the ceiling and strike this exact spot...
All talk, no action.
And if you thought that the strange existence of the crystal basilisk and the crystal shrimp were confusing enough, then we'd also get the chance to learn about the existence of the Mask-Critters during the season 1 episode titled Island Adventure.
Everything on this island has such a bright, happy smile.
In short, Rebecca Sugar would reveal the true identities of a bunch of the show's most memorable and important corrupted gems in the form of sketches inside of the pages of the official Steven Universe End of an Era art book. And this is noteworthy because of the wild fact that we'd learned that Moonstone, being the invisible monster who was running rampant on Mask Island, looked almost identical to the Mask-Critters, which were living on Mask Island. Yeah, I mean, it's been basically confirmed at this point through a ton of context clues that Homeworld, or maybe even the crystal gems themselves, would run experiments on a ton of the animals and organic life which were living on the Earth. But the two big questions are which one of them were doing this, and most importantly, what were they even trying to figure out?
This is all very nice, but it doesn't solve the mystery.
Before we jump to any conclusions, we're going to need to address the big glowing elephant in the room, being the idea that the crystal basilisk, the crystal shrimp, and the Mask-Critters weren't experiments at all, and they were actually just an invasive species to the Earth and the true original inhabitants of Homeworld.
You what?
We know that the diamonds, as the leaders of the gem empire, were all made on Homeworld, and we also know that the gems need to drain the life out of organic life forms in order for them to have enough energy to emerge, meaning that it's extremely likely that Homeworld had a ton of organic creatures which were living on the planet at some point in the past.
How is the Earth?
It's full of life.
Organic life.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
But I'm still not convinced that the crystal basilisk, the crystal shrimp, and the Mask-Critters were native to Homeworld because of two major reasons. The biggest one being the fact that we learned from the pages of the Steven Universe End of an Era art book that all 4 of the diamonds were made about 20,000 years ago on Homeworld, and Pink Diamond would only be assigned with the task of colonizing the Earth about 6,000 years ago.
What were you thinking? Letting them loose in the ballroom. They could be anywhere.
God damn, girl.
Keep in mind that white, yellow, and blue diamonds seem to have despised being around peaceful species of organic life, so I'm thinking that it's unlikely, as in extremely unlikely, that they would just decide to let life forms that were the natural predators like the crystal shrimp survive for longer than a day on Homeworld, much less 14,000 years before Pink Diamond would even be given the Earth.
He's out of line, but he's right.
The second reason is mainly an explanation for why the Mask-Critters aren't native to Homeworld, and it's because we'd learned directly from our girl Peridot during the season 2 episode titled When It Rains that there wasn't any rain on Homeworld at all.
You don't know about rain?
I don't know anything without my screen.
Meaning that while there definitely are forms of liquid on Homeworld as we'd see during the season 5 episode titled Familiar, it all appears to have been artificially produced or maintained, making it unlikely for organic creatures like the Mask-Critters to have survived in that kind of environment at all. So yeah, the crystal basilisk, crystal shrimp, and the Mask-Critters were most likely made right here on the Earth by either the forces of Homeworld prior to the events of the Gem War or by the crystal gems themselves. Where does that actually leave us? Well, I'm thinking that Moonstone could only have been working for Homeworld because the crystal gems didn't think to check on Mask Island for corrupted gems until thousands of years after the Gem War, and when they finally did, none of them ever even considered the possibility that the corrupted gem on Mask Island had the ability to become invisible.
Are you sure it's here?
It was.
Do you think it swam away?
We'll have to look.
Based on the fairly depressing events of a season 3 episode titled Monster Reunion, we should be able to safely come to the conclusion that corrupted gems aren't capable of using warp pads either, which means that Moonstone has most likely just been wandering around on Mask Island while casually evading capture from the crystal gems ever since she was corrupted. Mask Island was also canonically one of the many planned structures for the Earth that popped up on the screen in Pink Diamond's moon base during the season 2 episode titled It Could Have Been Great. And this can be confirmed based on some of the world building sketches that Rebecca Sugar and the rest of the team would release inside of the official Steven Universe Art and Origins book. The wildest part about all of this is that we'd learned from Peridot that Mask Island was among the measly 5% of structures that Homeworld got the chance to complete before Pink Diamond would kick off the Gem War and prevent them from continuing their grander vision for the planet.
All told, this probably only accounts for maybe 5% of what was originally planned.
Which implies that Mask Island, a place that seems to have been designed for Moonstone to have had a quiet place for her to have the freedom to experiment on the organic life on the Earth, was a priority location for Homeworld. I've speculated on Moonstone as a gem in the past, and I'm still convinced that she was a Homeworld scientist because every single one of the details surrounding her existence genuinely just points in that direction. Going off of Moonstone's character design alone, she does not look like she was built for combat at all, and I mean her signature ability is invisibility, which is perfect for a Homeworld scientist. With the ability to become invisible at will and not needing to breathe, Moonstone would be able to run tests out in the field on a ton of different organic life forms without ever being worried or scared of them discovering her and lashing out. Now, while I'm still holding onto the belief that Moonstone was originally a Homeworld field scientist, I'm not necessarily saying that she was responsible for all of the other gem-based anomalies in the ecosystem on the Earth, like the crystal basilisk and the crystal shrimp. Actually, there seems to be a very clear and noticeable difference between the crystal basilisk, the crystal shrimp, and the Mask-Critters, being the inclusion of gem shards in the design. The unfortunate truth is that there simply isn't enough evidence for us to be able to theorize on the true origins of the crystal shrimp and the crystal basilisk just yet. But I remember that at one point I believe that they were made by Rose Quartz herself in order for her to have been able to figure out if it was possible for her baby to survive. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this discussion, and I'm really hoping that lots of us stars will be able to find the time to introduce us to even more gem-based creatures, and maybe even treat us by finally explaining where they've all been coming from in the first place, because I'm sure that it's another very strong contender to get called out as being one of the darkest secrets of a fallen gem empire.